Hello there and welcome to Tom's Warhammer Minis. The Necron Monolith is a giant complex made of living metal. As its systems reanimate and come back online, infinite numbers of warriors phase into existence, while its weapon systems cause incredible destruction to all those who dare approach. It's a fantastic centerpiece model for a Necron army, and this newer version has a lot of incredible detail. In this guide, I'll take you through how to paint this model using mostly contrast paints, all done by hand. Essentially, it will match my Tomb World scenery tutorial in a real perfect way. For the best and easiest results, of course, it has to be sub-assembled. There's a lot of areas you cannot reach if it's fully built. And whilst my method of painting does take a while to do, it leaves this colossal model looking fantastic on both the tabletop as well as a beautifully displayed collection in your cabinet. So grab your paints and your brushes and let's get hobbying. And we're beginning our Necron Monolith. Now I've got it entirely built, but not all built all together, so it's in sub-assemblies. Now I personally don't like doing that, but it's one of those models where you just are not going to be able to catch every detail, and the way that I'm painting here, you're going to notice if you don't do that. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction of what's built, how it's built, and what it's primed in. So to begin with, I primed most of it in Mechanicus standard grey, but there are some bits I primed in white scar. So for instance, I've got this wall section here, and we've got two of those, and they're really worth keeping separate because it means you can get all into the inside of this detail. Even though it's not hard to see, there'll just be those odd angles, a bit like this. You've got the main section here, but you're going to be able to see in those gaps. And just by doing it this way, we can get to every section of these rocks and even in between all these bits. It's one of those odd angles where if you're really doing it for competition, you want to be able to see it all. So we've got two of those. We've also got the big Canoptek scab at the back, and I've kept that as a separate piece. We've got the main central structure. Now obviously I primed that in Mechanicus standard grey, and this is where we want to kind of do things differently if you're copying my guide. This I've glued on with super glue at the very end once it's all primed. What I've done, I've primed in Mechanicus standard grey, but I've not sprayed this in Mechanicus standard grey, not at all. Essentially I'm holding it by the golf ball when I was priming it and just spraying all the other bits. Yeah, it makes your hand a little bit messy, but you can always wash that off, so you don't spray your hand deliberately. And then I primed that separately in white scar. Doesn't matter if you catch the edges slightly, like you can see I've done there. It's just going to add to the glow effects when we paint it later. And my last piece to show off is the very front, that door frame. I've primed this in white scar because it's going to really aid when we do all that glowing energy. So get all that done. I'm going to be taking it section by section, and where there's differences I'll point them out, where there's similarities I'll point them out too. And let's get our Necron Monolith painted. Now it's worth mentioning I've also primed the base in white scar, literally just spraying it right over the top like this, not catching the actual base rim, but if you do you can darken that down or paint the base rim whatever colour you want. Now I have painted this, as you can see. I've got it done out of the way because the monolith we're going to be doing in sections and it's sticking on top. If you want to follow this exact colour guide, then the colours I've used here is Tesseract Glow, Warp Lightning, and Dark Angel's Green. Now I'm not going to go in depth on what I've done here. You can view that on my other Necron tutorials, but it just gets it done out of the way. You've got this little plastic bit here. It comes in two halves. The other bit is super glued to the bottom of the monolith. I've super glued this half to the center of the base. They literally twist on, so it means we haven't got the Necron monolith fixed in place. We can move it, which makes it easier for transporting. Now moving on from the base, we're doing our first color, and I'm using Praxeti White. This is a dry brush from Citadel, and I'm using this over all of our details. Now, it doesn't matter if you do the metallic details, but we don't need to, because we're going to be doing the metallics, but this is for all the details that are black, turquoise, and green. We're just literally dry brushing it heavily all over that Mechanicus standard grey spray. It does create that kind of xenophil type pattern, where it's a darker colour, and we're just going to paint over it and get that natural highlight in place. If you see my Necron walls, you know exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to give you an example, just showing you all the different pieces. You've got this one here, for example, and it's areas like this that I've gone more heavily on because obviously this is going to be painted in things like Tesseract Glow. It's a light source, we want it brighter. So it's just really creating this effect. Again, examples here, this is going to be in metallics, we don't have to worry. Doesn't matter if you catch it, it's not a problem. but we don't need to focus time on it. But getting those orbs done is a real thing, and all of our details that we painted in green, turquoise and black. You'll see as we go along, and we'll move on to that in the next stage. Now, rather than black, I want to go down that Caliban green style of colouring for my walls. The colour I'm using here is Warp Lightning. Quite simply, I have thinned it down with a tiny bit of Lamy Medium just to help with the flow, but we're not talking a ratio here. We want to keep that green in place. And nice and simple, we're just slapping it straight on all over the wall sections. Obviously be neat when you get to these different areas, but any metallic details, we can just take our time, be a bit messier because they're being base coated in metallics. So that gives you an idea of this section. This one I have painted this side, even though it's not meant to be seen. You might just see it at a very odd angle. And lastly, this piece. Now, essentially what the Warp Lightning is going to be, it's going to be our highlight colour. The next colour I'm going to use will be Dark Angel's Green, but I'm going to paint up to the edges, leaving that highlight colour in place. So it's got that nice bright vivid green, but Caliban green style colouring as the base coat. If you've seen my tutorials before, you know exactly what I'm doing. It takes a long time, so just take it section by section. Obviously make sure you've got some proper lighting so you don't miss any areas, because I missed quite a few areas on this one. And yeah, get that done. Next up, the colour I'm using is Dark Angel's Green. Now this is going to take an incredibly long time, and if you do it, I really recommend something like an audio drama or a movie just to really pass the time by and just take your time and work on it, because the end result is going to make it look really incredible. Now I am mimicking what I've done with the Tomb World walls, which you can see is another tutorial on my channel. Essentially what I've done with the Dark Angel's Green, we're painting it over all the flat surfaces of these walls, up to the edges, but we're not painting the edges themselves, so we're leaving the Warp Lightning in place as that natural highlight. So when we get to these areas here that are completely flat, we can absolutely be heavy, but as we get to the edges, we just want to be careful. I use small airbrushes that aren't neat, they're old, they're a bit battered, they're a bit worn, but they've still got a little bit of a tip. Not a tip where you can actually do a proper edge highlight, but a tip where you can control the paint perfectly up to those edges. Now models, especially like this part, it's going to take a lot of time. But as you can see, the result is incredible. It means all that wall section is completely done. I'm just going to show you some other examples of the other pieces. So you've got the main side walls here, like this. Now what I've done on the inside here is I'm not being neat at all. You literally just slapped it on the inside. You're hardly going to be able to see these bits here. There might be an odd angle where you just get a little glimpse in. But that's why we can just put it in so it's dark, because we're going to be focusing, and this is what the eyes do. You're going to be focusing on all these details here. So that's that section. Show the bit of the centipede. Once again, you can see all that edge highlighting is in place, but there's zero highlights that we've applied. Again, I've painted Dark Angel's Green on the inside. You're not going to be able to see it, but there could be just one odd angle that you might just be able to get a glimpse in, but it's nice and dark and it just matches the rest of the walls. And lastly, this bit. Now this was primed in white scar, but you can just get a bit of a more vivid effect, as you can see. Just to compare, that was done in Mechanicus standard grey. This one's done in white scar. It's a little bit more vivid, but not too much. It's still pretty much the same. But you want this to be a bit more vivid because you've got all that glowing energy there. So get that done. It takes a long time, but it's well worth the patience and the effort put in place. Because once that's done, it's pretty much downhill from there. Next up, I'm taking white scar, and I'm doing two different things here, kind of a relayer and a bit of freehanding, just to really enhance when I apply Tesseract Glow in the next stage. So for instance, we've got the glyph here, I want it brighter, it's just a simple relayer. The big orb we've got here, I've done this big lightning pattern effect. It's a bit of freehand, it's chunky, it's messy, it's not really going to show through that much, because once I apply the Tesseract Glow over, it's just going to have a slight enhancement, in the sense that you won't notice the white scar, but you'll notice the pattern. You've got a little bit here, and the other side is completely mirrored. Showing the scarab, I've done exactly the same. Two big orbs, two lots of freehanding, and you've got all these little orbs here that I've picked out with the white scar. Same here, same here. Just enhances the Tesseract Glow. You've got the orb on the other side too. And just to show the wall section, not much on this one, but it's just the orbs that are here. It's just going to make the Tesseract Glow really pop when you apply it in the next stage. Next up, like I mentioned, we're taking Tesseract Glow. It's bright, it's bold, it's vivid, and it's really great for these details. As you can see, just applying a small amount on these kind of orbs here. Showing the big Canoptek Scarab. It really enhances, especially with those lightning details in place. It makes it bright and vivid. Just to show the front part. Obviously all over the energy beams, but for the Necron itself, you've got the eyes, the chest cavity, the glyph on the front there, and then you've got these orbs here on the gun. And lastly, we've got the core itself. Now the core is going to look a bit messy to begin with. Obviously we've got these sections here that I've done. For the actual orb, as you can see, it's dried a bit messy. You've got such a large area with so many different curved sections, but we're going to use that to advantage and fill in those gaps in the next stage. But as you can see, it really helps to make the model stand out from this really dark to this really bright contrast. It's really starting to take effect. Now while our Tesseract glow is drying, we can move on to some other details. And you've got this black stone kind of terrain that we have on these wall sections, both on the inside and the outside here. The colour I'm using is Akhelian Green. Nice and simple, we're applying it flatly, completely over. We're not thinning it down, just as it is, and we're going to get this dark effect. Once it's fully dry, I'm just giving a quick dry brush of blue horror just to pick out the edges and details, just to sharpen them and crispen them a bit more. And just to show the other side, there we go. Nice and simple, we'll get those done. Next up, we're moving on what I call the golf ball. Now it's a bit blotchy, but this is because the light is picking up. When I'm looking at it in natural light, you're not really noticing all these details, especially as it's going to get enclosed as well. But to begin with, we're going in reversal order. We're going to highlight it first, and the colour I'm using here is Dorn Yellow. And I've applied this as a heavy dry brush all over. Now once that's done, I've taken Biel-Tan Green. This is quite a strong shade, and I have thinned it down in a 2-to-1 mix. So 2 parts Lamy Medium to roughly 1 part Biel-Tan Green. I've applied this all over. Now being a shade paint, it is super thin. It will be very runny. So just apply a small amount at the top, work it completely around, and make sure it doesn't settle too heavily at the bottom where it's going to pull heavily and ruin our features. It just really enhances the ball, creates a bit of natural shading, and with that, that part of the model is done. Next up, I'm taking Karandras Green, and I've painted this over all the different energy bars that you see across this model. So as you can see, it's this front section here. I've also done the energy beams of this weapon here, and I've done this on the other wall section as well, so that's completely identical. For the scab, once again, you've got these energy nodes, which are done. For the wall section, you've obviously got the gun, I've done the cable, I've done the glyph. And just to point out, obviously you've got the Akhelian Green, just for that texture that it's phasing into existence, just to match the wall section. And then for the main big chunk itself, I've done the glyph, or the base around it, in the Karandras Green too. Get that done, and we're pretty much done with all the contrast painting. Next up, we're base coating, shading and highlighting all of our silver details. So for the main section here, we've got all this cabling here that we see, which is why we've sub-assembled it. You could not get to all this area if it was fully built. For our actual Necron that's phasing in, you've just got the little metallic sections here. And just a note, obviously you'll see in the stock image or the box art image that I've shown at the beginning, it's going to be Zarkhan Dynasty, but I've just done the internal workings as well as the gun in the silver. The last bit to showcase is one of the wall sections. This is our last major section of silver detail, and this is its whole section that goes all the way down here as well as the inside. You've also got the cables here too that are holding these bits. So the colours I'm using here, nice and simple. Dark silver is Iron Warriors. Base cut it on, it's going to take quite a while. Once it's done, we're going to shade all those details, and I have shaded the flat areas, and the colour I've used here is Nuln Oil. But what I've done is I've created a 2-to-1 mix of Lamy Medium and Nuln Oil. So 2 parts Lamy Medium to roughly 1 part Nuln Oil. This gives us a lot of control and movement of moving the paint around without it setting heavily and becoming blotchy on these flat areas. But just be aware, being a shade paint with that added thinness, with this verticality, it will pull down all the way to the bottom here. So keep an eye on that. We don't want it to pull heavily. We just want it to settle in the recesses along the edge there, but not going any further. It's just something to be aware of. But the thinness does mean we get all the recesses. We darken down the silver ever so slightly, but as you can see, it hasn't actually pulled heavily in certain areas. It just allows a lot of movement, a lot of freedom. Just don't overload the brush when you're doing it. Once it's fully dry, we want to highlight our silver, and just a simple dry brush of Necron Compound just gets the job done. With that, all of our silver details are complete. Next up, we're keeping our metallic details nice and simple, and I'm going with the Zarkhan Dynasty theme. The colour I'm using here is Brass Scorpion. It's pretty much over all the remaining details that are left. Now once that's done, I am shading them down in a 1-to-1 mix of Lamy Medium and Targor Rageshade. Now the large flat areas, we don't need to apply this. And once that's completely dry, I've just done a cheeky dry brush of Canoptek Alloy to pick out all those details. And just to showcase the other sections and what they look like once they're done, we've got the main wall section here. So you've got this area, you've got two of these on the front and on the side. I have chosen to do the weapons, and then you've got the top bits here. Again, I haven't shaded this area, but these areas I've done a recess shade. Showcasing the Canoptek Scarab. I've painted this entirely in the brass scorpion. It's just a real bright, vivid bronze. It's going to stand out really nicely, especially against all this dark green. And to show the Necron, there he is. Obviously I painted the gun, but we'll go over that in the next step. Get all those details done, and we're pretty much there. Focusing solely on the Necron, and this is only if you built it this way, because obviously you can just have the energy beams on their own. You've got this cable here. Now I don't particularly want to highlight it, so I've taken advantage by just doing it in Black Templar. Settles into the recesses really darkly, leaves those little ridges really nice and brighter, so the automatic highlights in place. And once that's done, we've got the energy blade here. Now I'd have a really easy to do way of doing this. If you've seen my other tutorials, you know exactly what I mean, and you can check that out in more detail in the Canoptek Circle Kill Team tutorial that I've done. But essentially, base coat it Bad Moon Yellow, let it dry, base coat it in Hexwraith Flame over that yellow, let it dry. Once that's done, take Karandras Green, paint it in all the details, avoiding the edges like we did over here. So you've got that edge highlight in place. And once that's dry, where you want that darker green, just apply a small amount of Dark Angel's Green. All we need to do now is assemble the model completely, and we are done. There we have it. Our Necron Monolith is complete. Yes, it's bulky, it weighs like a brick, and it's just so awesome. And this method of painting, yeah, it takes a while, but it's worth the effort to end up with this incredible looking result. And it really matches my Tomb World scenery perfectly. Hopefully it'll inspire your take on this incredible model, and if it does, be sure to give the video a like, because it really does showcase the true power of contrast paints. Be sure to share to help others in this kind of painting, and do subscribe to see all the latest videos, and check out all the others that I've done too. It's all free, and my work has absolutely won many a gold medal in its time, and the support means a lot, and it means I get to continue supporting you, the awesome Warhammer community. So until the next time, look after yourselves and happy hobbying.